Good tidings once again, and welcome to my quick rundown of the options we have for the next Drake ship. So this flew a little under the radar for me as voting opened on the 1st of December, but it is open until the 11th, so there's still a heck of a lot of time to decide what you can see next from Drake. So what options do we have? Well, there's 3 of us to wrap our heads around and to choose what we'd like to see next from Drake. All the names might not stick as they're only code names at the moment, but I probably expect to see them to stick as it is probably going to be a name I've already decided upon. Before we dive into any further information that we've been given, everything we're covering in the video is just speculative, as nothing's set in stone yet, and these are just ideas, as opposed to a definite ship idea at the end. So first up, we have the Vulture. This has the header of entry-level Drake salvage ship. The description of this reads, a one-man salvage ship, no drones, but plenty of onboard storage to help with EVA salvage operations, so space for cutters, charges and so forth, and space in a separate area to store and process the recovered salvage. This is mostly designed for a player to EVA out and do the salvage, rather than sit inside and do it with tractor beam and lasers, and small enough to sneak into hostile areas undiscovered to recover fresh salvage. So from watching the happy hour video on these Drake ships, with the Vulture, the main possible ideas that I picked up on was the possibility of being like a large bike, but like a ship that's ridden on like a bike to allow the pilot to get on and off as quickly as possible so that you can start salvaging. This is going to be useful in a hostile environment as it's going to allow you to get salvaging as quick as you can, then you can get back out of there before you're noticed. The other thing we mentioned was the idea of it being like a pickup truck, so you can load the cargo again as fast as possible to get in and out in the quickest time. Not given too much in the brief, but picked up heavily in the happy hour video is the idea of stealth. This with it being a smaller salvage ship, the idea of sneaking to the battle while it's still raging in order to pick up the best salvage while the other salvages arrive. The other thing what we can look at here, and hopefully it implies it, is that when you read the description it says small enough to sneak into hostile areas unnoticed. So that does imply the idea of some sort of stealth element as well. Another idea that was covered was the idea like with Caterpillar, that would be able to eject the pilot's part of the ship to help it get away if it needed to get away if it was under hostile fire. Next up on the list is the Drake Corsair, with a tagline of a multi-crew Drake Explorer. The description we've been given for this is that it's going to be a Drake's competitor of a Constellation. The rough and ready multi-crew Explorer differs from the 600i by its crude basic construction and from the Constellation by its lower missile count, with a third turret to make up for it. Able to transport a vehicle, think extended upscale cutlass rear area, faster and more nimble than the others, but like all Drake ships, pretty paper thin. Once again from the happy hour video, the most talked about idea for the Corsair was the idea of it having like a broadside ability. So the idea of all the turrets on top with a 360 rotation, allowing the crew to come alongside an enemy and unload a broadside like in the days of old, which to me is music to my ears. If this were to happen, it will be as cool as hell in my opinion. And also there's nothing out there like that at the moment, with all the firepower is on one side. Again, this might not happen, but I really hope it does. The other thing they mentioned about having the turrets on top of the ship is that if it was to land, when deploying the ground vehicle, by having all the turrets on top, this could allow for a good covering arc of fire in a hostile environment as well. With the Corsair likely to come with a ground vehicle as well, there's a lot of ideas thrown around for this as well. The ones that stood out for me was the idea of having something both for cargo and weapons, so you've got space for the two. And to round up the Corsair, likely with it being a Drake ship, we know it's not all going to be about exploration. There's always the reason for the Drake ship, and then there's the abuse of a Drake ship, what it's actually used for. The Cutlass covers perfectly where it's described as a search and rescue ship when we all realistically know what it's designed to do. And last but by no means least, and with the coolest name of the 3 in my opinion, the Kraken, described as a scout carrier. So the description of this reads, Drake's capital ship entry, space to park and start a few medium-sized ships up to freelancer size, and transport them around the verse, such as a mobile truck stop in function with a small hub stores, some less legit to help restock. Once again, only ideas at this point, but talked about in the happy hour, they look at this as being around the same size as Javelin or Idris, but with a much higher carrying amount of ships, but the trade-off of next to no weapons, so the ships are its defence basically. The number thrown around is between 6 to 8 ships. They also talk of it being like a utility first capital sized ship, so with the ability to repair others and move things around. So I think it is this is my space station sort of idea. The other idea is to have like one big opening at the front with different landing pads dotted around inside, so you can get your fleet from A to B. And the other idea is that it's going to be able to support all Drake ships, which would be brilliant in my eyes, as it would be a good centre point to a Drake fleet. So that's the 3 offerings covered. Again, all of these are just rough ideas at the moment, they're not really even in concept stage yet, so it's just that brief description we've been given to describe what it's likely to be doing once it hits the verse. For me, my vote's probably going to go to the Vulture. I like the idea of a small salvage ship, and it's not something we've seen yet, with only like a capital size one on offer at the moment. But again, I think all 3 are brilliant ideas, and it is very close between the 3 for me. Which would you like to see in the verse? That's what I'd like to hear next. Any sort of other ideas you'd like, I'll put a link in the description to the happy hour video, so if you do want to catch the full video on there, I've got a lot more ideas to talk about. This is just a quick rundown. As always, thank you again for watching. This is Iron Tyrant saying over and out.